Hey folks, Justin here. In this video, we're going to look at the licensing changes that have come about in October 2019. Now, I realize that most people, when they think about licensing, tend to get that sleepy feeling. But it's unfortunately one of the parts that you really have to consider when you're designing your solutions to make sure you're being the most cost effective for your customers. So if we have a look at the way everything was up until September 2019, we can see here on the left-hand side for CRM, we've got our various modules, sales, customer service, etc. Then we've got a customer engagement plan that sits across that if you want more than one module. That was the best way to go. On the right-hand side, we've got our ERP, or finance and operations area here, along with talent and retail. Now those ones we could have a unified operations plan, which gave us access to all of those. And then if we wanted the whole kit and caboodle, then we could go with a Dynamics 365 plan. So the first thing that happens as of the October changes is that we lose our plans. So no longer do we have the ability to just buy one license and have access to everything. It gets broken down a bit further. So we take away those and we have a look at the way it is now. So the new way of doing things is to have for each user, we'll have a base license and then they'll have attached modules. So it might be, for example, that they'll have a base license in the sales area and they'll attach the customer service so that they get both functionalities. Now, we can see that in the case of sales and customer service, they can have a professional or enterprise base license. Likewise, they can have a professional and enterprise attached license. Now, the way that this works is that you need to get the most expensive of the base licenses. So you can't, for example, have a base professional sales license and add the enterprise attached license. You would have to be the other way around. You'd need the base enterprise license for customer service and then attach the sales module. Now, it doesn't affect field service or project service automation because they don't have the professional and enterprise level. And we've got down here our marketing module. It's a little bit different. It doesn't have the same base and attach. It's effectively you're getting the marketing module, or you're attaching it as an existing customer to an existing instance. Now, over on the right-hand side, you may notice that we've now got 4 blocks here. That's because as of October 2019, what we traditionally knew as finance and operations is now broken apart into 2 separate modules or features. So the first of those, the operations part of finance and operations, has now become supply chain management. That's its new name. And the finance piece has gone off by itself to do its own thing. When we've still got the retail and talent as well. Now you'll notice that these have a base and an attach as well, and it is possible to cross streams effectively. So for example, if you wanted supply chain management and customer service, you can do that. But again, you need the more expensive base license. So you would get the supply chain management base and attach the professional or enterprise customer service license to your user. As well as that, the ERP side of things also gets a device license now. Now we've always had that for the CRM side, but the ERP side gets the device license. All right, if we move on to PowerApps and Flow, they don't miss out on changes either. So traditionally we've had 2 plans. So PowerApps Plan 1 or P1 and PowerApps P2. So P1 has given you the Canvas app and a Flow Plan 1, and a P2 has given Canvas apps, model-driven apps, and a Flow Plan 2. Over on the Flow side of things, a Flow Plan 1 or P1 has given us 4,500 flows per user per month, and a Plan 2 or P2 has given us 15,000. And we've also had trigger frequency limits as well. So what does this look like in the new world? All right, So in the PowerApp side of things, we've now got something called a PowerApps per app. Now, by app, it doesn't just mean a single app, because what we actually get access to is 2 apps, and that can be any combination of a canvas or a model-driven app. And we also get 1 portal as part of that. And we can execute any flows that are needed within the context of our applications. So the context piece is the important part there. And so that's the per app module. Now, I should have mentioned on the previous slides, these numbers are in Australian dollars, but I'll show you later where you can go and easily find out the local currencies for yourself. Then the next level up from the per app license is a per user. So with a per user license, you get unlimited apps. So you can have, and they can be any combination, a canvas, model driven, or portals. And again, you get the flows within the context of your app. On the flow side of things, we now have a flow per user. So this is where the user themselves can have unlimited flows or business process flows, and they get the full flow capability. So whatever their flow needs to be able to do, they'll get access to that. Also, we have a flow per business process license. So this is typically where we would have a business process running triggered by some data or in the background or something, not necessarily related to a user activity. So that's where this comes in. It has unlimited runs available. Child flows are not charged as part of the per business process. It has full flow capability, and you need to buy a minimum of 5 flows as part of your licensing. Another important thing for those people in the Dynamics 365 space is that now, if you've got a Dynamics 365 license, you're only allowed to run flows under that license which are triggered from or connect to your Dynamics 365 instance. So if you want capability further than that, then you need to go up and buy either a flow per user or a per business process license. So that's a bit of a change as well. Another thing that's come about as part of this is the API limits. So when you're making an API call into your CDS or Dynamics 365 data, then we now have a limit on per 24-hour period. We had limits before, but it was a sliding 5-minute window. So now we have a limit per 24-hour period. So we can see here, based on the various licenses that the user might have, the number of API calls that are included with that user license. Now, there's a couple of conditions to this. If you've got, for example, an enterprise base license and an attached professional license or an attached enterprise license, you don't get the combination of those two. So it's only the higher of them. So you'd only get 20,000 in that case. However, if you've got a Dynamics 365 enterprise license and a PowerApps per user license, then you would get the 20 and the 5. So you would get 25,000 API calls. And if you've got the attached license, as I said, you've only got access to the base amount. You can actually buy more, which we'll have a look at in a moment. Another change is for the PowerApps portals, which have taken over from the Dynamics 365 portals. So with this, we now have quite a different licensing arrangement. So for external users into your portal, if they're authenticated, then they are effectively given a login allowance per 24-hour period. And you buy bunches of logins, I guess you would say. So in this case, 100 logins would be 275 Australian or 200 US. And so that allows 100 people to log in for a 24-hour period, or per 24-hour period. Likewise, there are lots of 1,000 and there are 5,000 lots, but that's a CSP only allowance. If the external users are coming in unauthenticated, so just browsing through your site without having to log in, then they're charged effectively on a per page view license. So in this case, you can buy 100,000 page views for 100 Australian, and that's going to cover your unauthenticated users. Lastly, if you've got internal users accessing the portal, then they're bound by whatever their license, their Dynamics license gives them, or their PowerApps license, in fact. So it doesn't give them any more rights than what they're allowed to access under those licenses. So in the old world, we would have been paying per portal. So that piece is gone. And you can purchase these lots and spread them across the portal. So if you've got 3 portals and you buy 1,000, you might allocate 200 of them to the first, 200 to the second, and then 600 to the last portal, or whatever balance is going to work for you. So that's another important thing. And finally, a couple of add-ons. So AI Builder, which has been in preview and hanging around for a little while. There's now more information around the licensing for that. So you'll buy lots of service credits, as they term them. So you buy them in lots of 1 million service credits. In this case for 685 Australian dollars. Now, the definition of a service credit is coming. So different services will use different amounts of credits. So if you're using something, for example, like the object detection, where it's using a lot of graphic processing, that's going to use more service credits than if you're just doing a text analysis, for example. And we mentioned before about the API request limits. So you can buy extra packs of those in 10,000 requests, in this case for 70 Australian dollars. Those get allocated to a user. So it's not pooled. You buy that and allocate it to whoever needs it. So that's something you need to take into account. So that's been a very brief look at the licensing. I didn't want to make it too long because, going back to the earlier slide, you'd all be asleep by now. So if you want more details, lots and lots of details are available in the 2 licensing guides. If you go to dynamics.com and go into the navigation to pricing, you'll get a link for the licensing guide for Dynamics 365. Likewise, if you go to PowerApps.Microsoft.com, you'll get access to the PowerApps and Flow licensing guide. So I hope you're still awake. I hope it's been useful to you. If it has, please hit the subscribe and the like button, and I'll catch you again soon in another video. Thank you. Bye.